Okay, I think now is the time. So shall we begin the session?
Okay, let me share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. So good afternoon and welcome all participants to Warlilock University International Webinar 2023. This webinar is a first series of Warlilock University International Webinar 2023. Today, where we are going to be explore what is big data. This session is going to be last about 2 hours. So in the follow-up webinar, we are going to be looking in more details of an introduction to big data and analytics. It will answer what, why, and how of analytics, and also take you through various business applications of analytics. The webinar sessions will also make you aware of the career opportunity of and future growth prospect of analytics. It is an ideal opportunity for professionals who wish to transform their career by being part of one of the fastest growing industry, big data analytics. So welcome everyone, and my name is Nithiwan Kromkal, Academic Officer of Center for International Affairs, Warlilock University. I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, Dr. Hira Batu from College of Graduate Studies, and she is the speaker for today's. So now may I introduce you to Dr. Hira Batu. She's graduate PhD in Management Science and Engineering from Xidian University from China, and now she is the lecturer of College of Graduate Studies. So, okay, so now may I turn the stage over to Dr. Hira and let her introduce what is the big data to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nithiwan, representative from the CIA. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Hira Batul. As Ms. Nithiwan introduced me, I am a PhD graduate, major in Management Sciences and Engineering, and my research work basically covered on the big data. And currently, I am working as the lecturer of CGS in the domain of management, international management discipline program. So today, I am very honored that CIA, the department of the Warlilock University, invited me to share my information about the big data. So hope everyone will get some knowledge. So let me introduce the key content, what I'm going to cover today. As Ms. Nithiwan mentioned for you in the introduction of the topic, the purpose for designing this presentation or slides is to give you a brief introduction about the big data and how you can use this concept into your future career. So some of major highlights for the lecture are: what is introduction to big data? What are the types of big digital data that convert into the big data actually? And the third part, we will cover about what is big data analytics and how you can use in your disciplines. And the last, I will cover how you can use the application of big data and what are the main application of big data in different disciplines. So first of all, let me talk about what is introduction to big data. As everyone know, in today's domain, we are living in the world of information technology era, where everyone has access to online applications. Everyone has access to the data in the form of their personal data, in the form of their store data, in the form of their web access data, in the form of downloaded data. So when you have these kind of information, in technological terms or in management engineering term, we call it as a storage of volume of a data that is present in everyone's place, but there is a way to utilize that data for the better assessment of the individual personalization or for the better assessment of the companies are at organizational level. So this is some of the background about the big data. So when someone want to know what is the key terminologies or what is the key concept for big data, or how theory explain that. So as you can see in the slide, I mentioned for you the quantities that you have in any form. As I mentioned, the characters, the symbols are the operations you perform, as I mentioned in the introduction of big data, basically, which is a stored form of any quantitative, any characters or symbols or any downloaded information that you perform on your browser. Is stored and is transmitted in the form of electronic signal and receive magnetic, optical, and mechanical recording media. So this is a bit complex definition of a big data. So in simple form, when you have any stored form of a data, which is structured, unstructured, raw or unraw data, this is basically called as a big data in the simple terminology. Now, how you can deeply explain this concept, because any discipline or any concept has huge understanding or have a multi way to explain the concept. Okay, so when we read the background of the big data, when we read different authors, so we can see that big data is usually described any information which is in the huge size. Okay, that will be considered as a big data. So now when we concern about the huge size, it means we are talking about the characteristics of the information. And when we talk about the characteristics of the information, it means we are talking about the volume, velocity of any information. So any bulk of information, any accumulated volume of a data you have, this is basically the technical form of the big data. And actually in present day, if we look into our browsers, if we look into our phones, so no one can regret or no one will deny that we don't have this volume of information. Everyone has this volume of information. Okay, so based on the personalized concept, the literature defined big data as the extremely large data sets that may be analyzed computationally to reveal trends and association, especially related to human behavior and interaction, which is basically a concept that we use inside the companies. And if I give you the example of the banking sectors, nowadays the banking sector is totally online in any country. So if even a single bank branch in a remote area has a 1,000 customer or even 500 customer. So if you consider per day, if a person, 500 customers are using an application, it means they are generating a data in the form of gigabytes. They have an information in the form of gigabyte. Okay, we can consider the increase in the volume or velocity of this ratio at this scale I mentioned for you. So usually the concept is the originator or the developers of the big data, they think that the information, the kind of a behaviors humans are generating online, we can use this data for the analysis purpose in order to understand the human behavior. So basically, in conclusion, the definition of big data is derived about the concept of personalization. The more data you are generating, the more you are interested to hand it over to the multinational, to hand it over to the computational or analytics department to analyze your behavior so they can work on your personalization. Because nowadays everyone interested to use the data, to use the information on the basis of personalization. If you are seeing, for example, the simplest form of personalization is when you open a browser and you will see a relevant ads that's something you browsed last week. Maybe I am interested to shop a handbag for me. So next day, when I open any application, you will see we are popping different kind of ads related to shopping bags or whatever item you search. So this is the concept of how the search items the companies use or the mobile companies use to send you the personalized notification or to send you the personalized notes of any kind of interest you want to buy or you are taking currently at that moment. So this is the smaller definition of big data in the first form, where I mentioned under what is data at personal level, and at the company level, you have to follow the concept of volume velocity concept with the relevancy of personalization. Okay, now next, move to the examples of the big data. As I already mentioned briefly in my slide 1, but some of information from the analytics purpose, maybe some of you listening from the finance background, or some of you may be interesting to see some realistic information apart from the banking one I gave you. Everyone know it's a global village nowadays. We are living in a global village. So we have our online trading community, the data that is generating our, the simplest example I put for you guys is the stock exchange data, which is one of the, I think so, earliest example when even we are not aware of the e-commerce concept properly, but Nasdaq and I think so the trade markets in the USA, they were generating the online data. They were creating data in the form of terabyte. Okay, I give you the example of gigabyte, but they were actually producing data in the form of terabyte. Okay, so all the data are from the trade. So when you have these kind of a data or information stored somewhere in the form of structured or unstructured, as I mentioned, formal or informal form. So the point or the question comes basically, what is the future of this information you are generating? Actually, you are taking the space. So what is the purpose? How to manage the space, or how to efficiently use that information for the betterment of the company or for betterment of the personalization concept. Okay, so this was the gap that basically the concept or pops something in the mind of the scientist to give this the production of the information, the concept of big data, and they give a new discipline into the management engineering field. Okay, so this is a picture I show you, like what's going on inside the stock exchange. I just put one of the clip from the New York Stock Exchange. So you have so many examples. Okay, so these are the first production of the data that has been even produced when there was not clear understanding what is the accumulation of information or how we explain that one into our management engineering concept. Okay, the next, I think so this is one of the most interesting example for our youngster, our young students, especially social media. We have a lot of applications that claim that they are going to connect you with your loved ones, or you can connect with anyone in anywhere in the world. Okay, so it means you have some applications that that have been developed with the intention to connect you, to reduce your distance. But once the formal communication means, I think so if you go back into the 1919 era, then you communicate through the letters, you communicate through, I think so the wireless was not that time a proper concept. You convey your message through electronic form was a very rare. You use other forms of the forms of conveying messages. Okay, but with the evolution of internet, we have a lot of applications that reduce our formal wording. Okay, so you can implement the same concept. If you have a book, when you are writing something, it means you are accumulating a data in the written form. So it should come into your mind, if I am writing something, how can I use that data? Is that useful for me, or I'm just wasting the space? Okay, similarly, when the social media come, you convert the formal writing into the electronic form. So now that application stored all of your data. Okay, you can see the example of the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any, these are just a minor example, but I think so nowadays everything is online. So even you send a message to anyone, this is your form of electronic information you are transmitting in the form of the magnetic waves. Okay, so all of these are basically the evolution of the big data discipline. Okay, so just a little bit clue for you, like how much social media is producing information and how much we can utilize it. Okay, so the current statistics, they show that only the Facebook, they are producing 500 plus terabytes of the new data. Okay, this is just a one figure, so you can assume that. So if you think about yourself, the information you have in your application, can you use by yourself for any means? I don't think so. Until and unless you know some big data analytics tool, then you can use for yourself. But right now, you are only facilitating the mobile companies or any app you are installed in, you have installed in your mobile system or in your desktop or in your personal system. You are only facilitating them to take your information and analyze them and use for their own benefits. So here, the need for understanding the big data analytics or the need for learning the digital analytics is important. Or, I think so it will be better if I say it's a kind of a gap that students need to understand. If they are only facilitating the information toward the other audience, toward other companies to use your data and to use for their own benefits, to earn, even this data is sold by the companies to get monetary benefits. So why not use your own data? Okay, so that's why we recommend the students to take big data analytics as a, I think so this is one of the subject that is going to be rock in the future. So these skills you should know for your career, career boosting. If you are not, if you are at a stage where you're exploring the careers and you have interest in the IT or management engineering, so you should take this subject into the consideration for making your career in a better pathway. Okay, next move to some of the calculation. Maybe some of the audience, if you are watching and they don't know what is the measurement scale for the information. So this is for the information. First of all, we usually start for information technology or any data, usually under the discipline of big data. If you want to measure it, if you want to rank it or scale it, so we start from the byte basically, okay? Or we call is a bit simply. And then we have a nibble, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, exabyte, zettabyte, and now we have the zettabyte. I don't know you guys are aware from not, but this is the recent terminology. And when you have a bit, it means it's equal to 1 bit, and 1 bit is actually 1/8 of your space that you are utilizing. Okay, so the size in bytes is basically the size of the magnetic flow or the size of the information that you are occupying in your system. If someone is saying that I have a byte are 8 bits information. So it means like how we will imagine into mind. Okay, so you can say that if you divide your space into the 8 parts, so it means about 8 parts, or one of the portion is totally filled from your information. Okay, similarly, if you guys use the Google Drive gives you an inbuilt space for certain for a certain level. I think so it's in gigabyte or MB, sorry. In my case, it's in MB, but if you purchase, so it go or exceed with your purchase level, okay? So these are basically the classification of the information spacing that you can imagine, because sometimes when I teach to students, they ask me how we can imagine, like if someone say like I have this utilized information into my system. So you can divide into the scales, into the bytes. Basically, the bytes is the measurement scale or measurement factor for the big data. Okay, now let's talk about what are the characteristics of big data. If you follow my my explanation from the introduction of big data and the definition of big data from the personalization level, then I mentioned for you when you have a inbuilt or when you are generating information at huge level, so you can characterize into the volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. Okay, keep this thing in your mind. These characteristics are for the company use. if someone assume that how we can use this information or these characteristics for the personal level, that for personal level, we only scale it in bytes, megabytes, as I tell you, like only for the classification or understanding. But if a company, it's a multinational company and they are catering international audience, so they can categorize big data into the 4 forms. Okay, so the volume is linked with the space, how much quantity you have. The more quantity you have in your system, it means you have a more volume. Okay, so volume means how much data is generated. You have to tell in the numbers. Okay, so when you have to tell in the numbers, you have to use a spatial measurement scale, like I showed you in the previous slide. Okay, so you can take an idea from there. So nowadays, organization, our human being, our system are generating, are getting very vast amount of data, which is in terabytes, as I mentioned. So nowadays, if you say that I am generating data in MBs or GB, so I don't think so nobody is gonna believe you if you are running a company, okay? So it is a concept that developed from after 2008. Like now, companies, because we are living in a global village, everything is online. The amount or speed of producing data is more and more. So it's in the terabytes, okay, or in petabytes or exabyte and more. So volume is how much data is you are generating. Okay, so it's basically the characteristic or reflection of volume. Now, what is velocity? Velocity means how fast you are producing the data. Okay, so how fast or how quickly you are producing the data. This is very important thing to understand. Is to understand here is some companies, they are not very active. Okay, and some companies, they are very active. If I give you the example of the Alibaba versus a local company, which is just a newbie company in any remote area, so you can assume that Alibaba is well-known one. So the speed of producing data is much more faster than the speed of producing data is in the newbie. So this characteristic basically we use to characterize the smaller production of the data versus the larger production of the data. Okay, so velocity means how fast produce data. Okay, nowadays organization, our human beings, our systems are generating huge amounts of data at every fast rate. So I think so now it's an era when even an individual, even in a very fast second, everyone produce data. Even if you observe how much you look into your mobile phone, I think so everyone will look into 1 or after 2 seconds. Okay, this is usually observation from the research that has been noticed. Okay, maybe some of you, they don't keen of looking at your mobile, but even if you click on your mobile and you see your screen, you are producing, you are giving response to the application now that this time you are active. Okay, then variety means, third characteristic is variety means different forms of data. Different forms of data mean, if you are if you make a comparison in just a simple example of Alibaba inside Thailand, we have a Lazada, Shopee, these kind of e-commerce company. So you have to see like what kind of a data you are producing, okay? Because we have different variety of data, formal data, informal data, structured data, unstructured data. Okay, some data is very sensitive for the companies, and some data is very personal for the companies, or even some data is very personal for the user's perspective. So these are the some of the classification of the data. Okay, so you have to cater, you have to see. So variety means different forms of data. Nowadays, organizations, our human beings, our systems are generating very huge amount of data at very fast rate in different formats. Okay, so I will talk about the different formats in my coming slide. Okay, so these were 3 of the main characteristics of the big data at the company level. And the last one is the veracity. Okay, what is veracity? Now, this is, I think so, the point again, important for those people who want to learn big data analytics, or which create a need for learning big data analytics if you want to join IT industry. if you want to join a multinational industry and you have a background of the IT, you have a background of management engineering. What is veracity? As I mentioned for you, everyone is generating data, okay? So generating data means you have formal data, informal data, every form of a data everyone has, even at the personal level or even at the company level. So now you have to understand, you have to cater the need, what kind of a data you need, okay? So when you will cater your need, like what kind of a data you will need, so you will only focus towards that dimension, right? Well, because companies don't have a time, everyone have a limited resources, okay? For example, on a simple level, if you are going to a shopping mall and being a shopper in the market, we have two kind of a shoppers, okay? One is who just walk in randomly, who come for the window shopping and they don't have any intention to buy anything. And one is with the intention like I only need some pens, I only need cloth, so that will direct only toward that section, okay? Similarly, when companies are receiving data from every customer and every kind, companies need to cater like what kind of a data they need. If they want to work on the customer personalization, they will only monitor or they only pay attention to that sector, okay? So it saves their resources, it saves the energy, it saves the time. But identification of what kind of a data they need, for what kind of a company they need to produce big data analytics. That's why company demand from the university to produce the students that have a big data analytics specialization so they can hire them. Okay, so just come back to the point of veracity. Veracity means the quality or correctness or accuracy of captured data out of 4 V's. 4 V's, as I mentioned before, volume, velocity. Okay, so we usually call as in the short form as an acronym as a 4 V's. It is most important V for any big data solution. Why it's important, as I mentioned for you, elaborate for you, because it's catered the need, attract the students, or it make a connection point between industry and university collaboration to work together to produce the big data analytics graduate. Because without corrected information or data, there is no use of storing large information, okay? So this is one of the most characteristics, veracity in the characteristics of big data. Now, the most important for those students or those audience who is new to the data structures. As I mentioned in my previous slide, data has been produced in a lot of different formats. Okay, but for big data, we usually classify it into the 3 categories, which is structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. Apart from this, if you read different information technology books, and even if you read different authors on big data, they mention formal data, informal data, open data, closed data. A lot of variety of data exists, no doubt, but for catering to be very specific with regard to the digital data. So majority of, I think the 98% of the writers on big data, they classify into the 3 categories: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. Structured data, what is structured data? Structured data means any data that can be stored, assessed, and processed in the form of fixed format is basically structured data. Now, what is the fixed format? Fixed format mean, if you can see, let me elaborate. Over the period of time, talent in computer science has achieved greater success in developing techniques for working with kind of a data. So it means when you know the format or when you know the structure, it's linked with the veracity. Veracity means when you know what kind of a data you need, it's give you a structure. A simple example is if you're working or if you're running a bank, your own bank, and you want to send a personalized messages or personalized notes or marketing ads to your users, banking users. So you will know, I want to observe what kind of a personal interest our user has. Okay. So you only observe that thing. So it means you already structured the information. Okay, so the banking sector will only pay attention to the personal items, like the customer is searching for what kind of a product, they are interesting for what kind of a things. Okay, so this is basically when you narrow down it's linked with the veracity. When you narrow down the need for capturing the data, the need for capturing the information, so it's give you a structure, it give you a format to pay attention for your data analysis. Okay, so this is just one of the simple example for you. Second thing is I put some example for you in the form to better elaborate what is the examples of structured data. Any if you are student of if the audience is student of IT, or if you know ERP software, enterprise resource planning software, so this is one of the screenshot from there. Basically that's that software we use inside the companies to communicate. Okay, so when you have any structured data mean when you have a proper classification, when you have a detail for each and every aspect that are using inside your department. Okay, so this is basically a structured data. Any software data or any data that you are using to communicate inside the company or that linked with some source is basically the structured data. Okay, unstructured data. Basically, the unstructured data is also known as a scattered data, okay, a random data. If I narrow down some of the concepts, so you can take structured and unstructured with the organizational aspect as well. What I'm trying to say is, for example, you have a lot of books in your table or in your working area, and they just randomly dispersed it. You don't know what book is for what subject. Okay, so when you have dispersed information and you don't know like what information is for which audience or what information belong to what customer, or like what is this information, you don't know, you just only see something in bulk in front of you. It's basically the exact definition or a very layman definition for the unstructured data. Similarly, when you organize the books according to the subject, according to some importance, it's basically the structured one. Okay, so let's back to the unstructured concept again. So any data which is unknown form or structured is classified as unstructured data. In addition to the size being huge, definitely in big data, you have to keep this thing in mind. Your information is huge in size. Okay, never think like if you are talking in the subject of big data, your information can be in GBs or MBs. No, it will always be in terabytes. Okay, so when you have information, just random information, a bulk of storage inside your systems without knowing which subjects belong to whom or how we're gonna use, it's unstructured one. And then in addition to the size being huge, unstructured data poses multiple challenges in the company or organization, you can say. Definitely, even if you implement into your daily life, when you have any unstructured or unassembled thing, it causes you a problem. Okay, it causes you a management problem. It causes you how to utilize that information, whether to utilize or whether to discard it. Okay, so the selection or making usefulness of information from unstructured is basically again the need for learning the big data analytics. The companies need big data specialists. The company needs someone who knows the subject of big data. Okay. A typical example of unstructured data is heterogeneous data source containing combination of simple text file, images, videos, etc. Very simple example of put for you. Okay, the word heterogeneous means when you have variety, or when you have different kind of a data. Homogeneous means when you have a similar kind of a data. Okay, now nowadays organizations have wealth of data available with term, but unfortunately they don't know how to derive. Okay, so this is one of the biggest research gap. If some of the audience is from research background and they are interesting to explore from IT and big data perspective, or they want to merge big data into management field, which is my specialization basically. So you can work on this topic. Like every company, management company have a unstructured data. You can propose something for them that will help you to extract the unstructured data according and they can use it, they can personalize it according to their need or according to the audience they have or they want to get there. As one of the example of unstructured data, I just take a picture from the Google for you. Any, if you search on any topic on big data, they give you a lot of unstructured information. Okay. So you don't know which information, you have to read it, you have to open it, you have to put energy, you have to first open it, read it, analyze it, then you can make it a conclusion. Okay. Okay, now the third one is the semi-structured data. Semi-structured data is basically a mixture of both, you can say in layman terminology, okay, structured plus unstructured, okay. Semi-structured data can contain both the forms of data, as I mentioned. We can see semi-structured data as structured in form, but is actually not defined. For example, table definition in relational to DBMS is a programming software. So for example, if you see any files, even if you open your system, you will see some of your files have a video, some of your files have a images, some of your files are with Excel, with Word. Like when you have a mixture of data in the form of graphics, images, words, mathematics structure, or in the form of, you can say languages nodes or programming nodes. So this is basically the example of the semi-structured data. Okay, now the main concept of a big data analytics comes here in the slide. If you follow my explanation from previous slide about structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data, actually when the companies aware through the researches on big data, like we have these kind of a data, and sometimes every company, when it's a fact, when you are running a big company or multinational company, you have a mixture of data. Okay, you cannot claim that I have only a structured data, I have only unstructured data, I only have a semi-structured data. Usually you have a semi-structured data or unstructured data. Okay. And when companies realize that we have a bulk of unstructured information or semi-structured information, and how we have to decide whether we should discard it, whether we should use it, how we can use it, how to extract the information. So these kind of issues arises after the boom of e-commerce 1990 era. So that's basically bring the concept of learning or giving skills about the big data analytics. Okay. So if I talk about, this is the simplest definition or the layman explanation I give to you, but if I talk to you from some of the scholarly concepts, so big data analytics is basically a process for, it's a complex process, it's not easy process. So the process consists of collecting, organizing, and analyzing the large set of data, which is called big data, to discover patterns and other useful information. Okay, so what does mean by the patterns? Patterns mean when you have unstructured data, you have to cater it, you have to squeeze the information according to the need of the company. Okay, so when you squeeze the information according to the need of the company, and when you know that I only need that targeted information, so which is basically called discover patterns. Okay. Second, the biggest explanation in the discipline of big data is big data analytics can help organizations to better understand the information contained within the data and will also help identify the data that is most important to the business and future business decisions. Analytics working with the big data typically bond the knowledge that comes from analyzing the data. Okay, if I simply explain for you why the company need to implement the concept of a big data analytics after the boom of e-commerce. If we talk about the initial phase, in the middle of the phase, are now, which is on the extreme boom, when we talk about these phases is e-commerce development. So you can see that people have more interaction through online channels. Everyone is connected to online channels, and now they want services which is personalized one. Okay, even if you just want to use the banking one, you need messages, or you need advertisement, you need financial information according to your needs, your requirement. You will not be interested in a general message, but you will be interested what has your interest in it. Okay, so due to the change of human behavior because of the boom of e-commerce industry or internet, this make a pressure on the companies or the multinational company or any organization, big, small, medium, whatever your size is. You have to implement the big data analytics concept. If you will not, maybe some people think that, so why, or what happen if we not implement the concept of big data? If information is producing, okay, they are side by side present in everyone's system, it's okay, just ignore it. But if you will not cater this concept, you will not be able to compete the competitors in the market. And if you will not compete the competitors in the market, it means you are losing your audience. If you are not catering the personal needs of the customer, you will lose the audience, you will lose the customers. Okay, and a company without customer is nothing. It means you are for zero purpose. So this is the reason that students need to understand the big data analytics concept, and companies need to implement this concept in present time. Okay, now what kind of analytics you have to understand for increasing the company high performance? Okay, when you have a large number of data and we are saying that it is associated with the company, so it means we are catering, or we are using this information to increase the company performance. So when we increase the company performance, what kind of performance or what kind of analytics we have to keep in mind? Okay, so first of all, to analyze such a large volume of data, big data analytics is typically performed using different software. We have different softwares, programming one and non-programming one. And programming one we use to cater the to identify what kind of a data information we need for our company when we want to build a screening between the flow of data or the flow of data transmit inside the company, and when we have to put a screening, so we use some programming software. But once the data is already entered into the system of the company, it means you have the information. Now you have to work on the softwares that can analyze your information. Okay, so usually we have application for the predictive analytics, data mining, text mining, forecasting, and data optimization. So usually in big data, the softwares are built for the future analytics perspective, which we usually call as a predictive analytics. When you have to predict the trends, or when you have to predict something for the future, usually we predict the trends for the future. So the analytics softwares of big data are usually developed with the theme of predictive analytics. Second concept is when you collectively process the data or separately perform integrated function, so you can achieve the high performance analytics. What does it mean? It means that it's up to the need or the requirement of the company. They want to go with the collective information processing, or they want to go with the individual information processing. If I just share with my project, what I did during my PhD is, because my major was in management engineering, So I build a software I belong to Pakistan, so I build a software for the Pakistani companies that they can predict the trends of their banking customers, like whether they are interested to whether they will allow the banking sector to use their information or not. So basically, I develop a software to merge management and engineering to identify consumer privacy perception, something like that you can say. Okay, so this is a kind of a predictive trend, like what future need is, because if customer know you are monitoring the data from especially the financial data, if you say to someone like your financial data is being monitored, you will become conscious, like, oh my god, someone is monitoring my monetary status or something like that. So you will feel conscious, definitely. Okay, and in underdeveloping country, if this concept is given to the consumers of the banking sectors or financial industry specifically, they will definitely feel reluctant. They will not be able to give you a trust to fully, or maybe they will be distracted, they will be off to your services. So how to cater these kind of issues? Okay, so my work is related to that one. This is just one example for the predictive relevance. Okay, so the last one is using big data tools and software enables an organization to process extremely large volumes of data that a business has collected to determine which data is relevant and can be analyzed to derive better. So basically, screening process, as I mentioned, because when you have a big flow of information or data is generating in your system, you will definitely try to make some screening, like what kind of a data you will use. It's related to the need or aim and scope of the company. So when you put a screen, you will only get a very selected kind of information that you can process and that can use for direct monitoring or for direct decision making of the company. So basically, the conclusion is, if you really understand the concept of big data analytics, or the information one is producing or company is receiving, you can actually use that one to increase the high performance of the company, because the information can make a great jump into the decision making regarding the customer personalization or customer perspective. You can definitely gonna increase your performance. Okay, now what is the challenge in big data is, as I mentioned in previous slide, like big data analytics is relevant with the high performance, but there are some challenges as well that we need to cater. Maybe these are for those who have some background of research. Maybe they can get a clue for their future research as well. So for most organizations, big data analysis or analytics is a challenge. Consider the sheer volume of data in different formats of the data. So basically nowadays, the main challenge when I communicate with different industry regarding big data concept, they have actually this challenge, how to screen the data. Like they need serious programming software and research in that perspective that will give a screening from their structured, unstructured, and that will tell them like if they are going for structured or unstructured or these kind of a screening data, they will definitely gonna give boost to the company. So this is one of the most challenging point for those companies who are already using the big data. Okay, the second thing is the first challenge is breaking down the data into silos to assess all data on organization stores in different places and often in different systems. Another thing is, as we know in the big companies, we have different storing points. So how to divide the spacing for what kind of, I mean, like how to divide the data for different storing points inside the company is also a challenging thing. So the classification or division or the management of spacing for different kind of a data inside companies is another challenge for keeping in mind the concept of big data. Second thing is a second challenge in it is creating platform that can pull in unstructured data as easily as structured data. It means they don't currently we are lacking with kind of a softwares that can format the unstructured data in a simple node. Because when you have a limited quantity of unstructured data, you can convert into the structured form. You can do easily screening, but definitely in big data, it means you have a bulk of information. So unstructured converting or going for the screening of unstructured is quite complicated one. Okay, so this is another second challenge that company is facing. The third one is the massive volume of data is typically so large that it's difficult to process using traditional database and software methods. I think so somehow as I personally disagree with this point, because nowadays even if we have the traditional softwares, and if we know some of the tactics and scale, we can use even though to analyze that data. But for the company perspective, somehow I agree that to manage our data plus to create a database plus to perform the data analysis on the huge volume, we don't have that kind of a software yet. Typically, we have to rely on some of the traditional methods and some of the old dated software. So I think so in big data, current challenge is from programming perspective, how to process the screening of structured, unstructured data, and how to store, how to divide the classification of data into different storage platform inside the companies. So these are two of the main challenging nodes right now. And the third, and the not last but the least one I can say is if you have interest in programming, maybe you can you can develop a software for the companies who can perform big data in a more quicker way, rather than using traditional system with more energy and more resources. Okay, so one of the, I think so interesting note in big data is even when I was student learning big data, I have this like if we have performing analytics in big data, how we can use in the current form or in our daily life. So some of the examples I put for you, how big data analytics is used today or how it's currently using basically as the technology that helps an organization to break down data silos and analyze data improves, business can transform in all sort of way. So what this point trying to say is actually nowadays companies they are using big data. Some of the companies are doing hidden practices, some of the companies are doing with the consent of their customers. Okay, the simplest example or the interesting example is, as I gave you in my previous slide, for example, today, if you are looking for some handbags or any personalized shopping item, so next day or even after some time, when you open your social media account, you will see that personalized advertisement about the item you searched into your search engine. Okay, so this is one of the common example, like how company is using big data analytics and how they are catering you, they are sending you. We have this question like, oh my God, I just saw a bag. Even in the shopping mall, if you physically see that bag and next day you will see like yours, the handbag or that special personalized item advertisement is popping into your screen and you feel like how they know that. Even if you think sometimes, even you think in your mind, like I need this chocolate. For example, it happens to me like if I feel craving, I feel like, okay, I need chocolate. And after some time, some of the ads are popping into my screen. So we feel like how they know these things. It's not a magic, it's a technology, because you are sending direct information to the systems you have in your head, in form of laptops, any personal stuff you have in your head. They are monitoring you. They know their interest. Okay. And this is basically the application of big data analytics. And second thing is, today's advances in analyzing big data allow researchers to decode human DNA in minutes, predict where terrorists plan to attack, determine what gene is mostly likely or responsible. And similarly, like, it means that the example I gave you, simplest one is, they can now, the researchers in big data, they can decode any information that you are even thinking in your mind, and they will use your thinking and that send you to target you, to send you personal messages, or not personal messages, I mean in the form of personalization or personal advertisement that link to your thought. Okay, so they are using the concept of big data. And as another examples come from one of the biggest mobile carriers in the world. Okay, mobile carriers, they are the one who are monitoring your information, which location you are in. Okay, and what area you explore. So they will send you that personalized information. And for example, some of the things I already put for you, I think so these are not just, I don't need to put, I don't need to touch one by one. So the only conclusion is the basically this is big data is the answer to the personalized messages, or big data is the one which is the technique behind. If you are seeing any personalized messages, any personalized interest popping into your screens or anything, and when you feel that someone is monitoring you or something like that, no, it's not like in a real life it's going a magic and someone is really watching you or something like that. They are watching your interest. They are watching the way you are using the information technology or the tool you have in your hand, and then they decode the information, and then they will personalize and they target you by sending you a relevant information which links with you or which you seems to be interested in. Okay, now what are the benefits of learning big data analytics is actually when you learn big data analytics, first of all, you have a good chance to enter in the IT industry, because nowadays we have a huge demand for those who have skills in big data analytics. So first, for example, if you are looking for the enterprises, they are also increasingly looking to find actionable insight into their data. Many data projects originate from the need to answer a specific business questions. With the right big data analytics platform in place, an enterprise can boost sales, increase efficiency, improve operations, customer service, and risk management. So this is very personalized, the use of big data analytics. Definitely, when the companies have the bulk of information and they are using the softwares for the, not software, they are analyzing information, they are absorbing the concept, so they can use that information for the betterment of the company. Okay, but what is the benefit for you for being a data analytics? So we have to look from two options. So if you know big data analytics, I think so you can cater the industry who is in the more trending one. Okay, and you can help them with their data analytics platform. You can help them to buy off, because when you have some skill, you have to sell your skill. How you can sell your skill? You can tell them. You can help the companies to boost their sale. You can help the company to improve their operation, customer service, risk management, all these concepts. Even it's not only benefit from the company point of view. You can use these you can use these concepts. You can use these gap or the areas to sell your skills as well. Okay. And then the second one is the example I put for you, like how Vivopedia parent company and other enterprises, they are taking benefits of the big data analytics. Actually, about half of their respondents said that they are applying big data analytics to improve customer retention, help it produce product development, and gain a competitive advantage. Actually, apart from the financial terminology, how big data can be helpful or how you can sell your skill is you can learn the product development or product analytics, like what product what it will be the customer demand from product perspective. Okay, if you are mainly in the operations management, or if you mainly a student or someone with a research interest in management, you can look into that matter. You can implement the big data technique there as well. Okay, because nowadays I think so every company, they are on the competitive note. They need some improvement in their product or new dimension. So big data analytics can help them to check with the customer, like what they want in future, what are their future perspective about a particular product, and then you can sell that needs to the company, and company can definitely hire you or work with you, because everyone want to excel, everyone want to compete with their competitors. Okay, so these are the advantages that are from company perspective, plus being a student or being someone who have interest in big data analytics, you can use these gaps or deficiency as your selling points. So notably, the business area getting the most attention relates to increasing efficiency and optimizing operations. Scientifically, this is just a data I got for you. 62% of the respondents said that they use big data analytics to improve speed and reduce complexity. So these respondents are basically the company's one. Okay, we surveyed and we feel that currently out of 100, you can say 62 companies are using these techniques. And similarly, same numbers from the big data analytics specialized person, they are using these techniques, these points to sell their skills. Okay, now let's talk about top big data applications. This is most common concern, like what are the big data application in education, in telecom, e-commerce, like in different disciplines, in travel. Okay, so these are some of the top big data listed areas where big data applications has been evident in present time they are using. Big data in healthcare, big data in education, in e-commerce, media and entertainment, finance, travel industry, telecom, and in automobile. Okay, in automobile, these are some of the areas that are mostly dependent on the big data analytics. So how big data in retail is using? So retail industry is basically, I think so, the one that faces more fierce competition nowadays, because retailers constantly hunt for the ways that will give them a competitive edge over others. Customers are the real king, sounds legit for the retail industry in particular. So basically what's going on the retail industry is you have to indulge with the logistics, and nowadays logistics is totally I think so, if we talk about even underdeveloping country, they have more developed system. They are rely on the softwares. Okay, I give you one of the example. Even the ERP ERP actually is a software that plan all of your enterprise resources, that make your communication in a more better and documented way. They launch software for the logistics management as well. Okay, so retail is actually one of the first sector that I think so it would be not wrong if I say that has been evident to use or to observe the big data application or big data evidence into their improvement matters. So how basically big data retailers connect with their customers, or what is the big data in retail? Through advanced analysis of their customer data, retailers are now able to understand them from every single possible aspect. They gather this data from various sources such as social media or analytic program and etc. Simply, it means because as I mentioned, the retail and logistic industry are online. So they are catering the need of the customers online. They are gathering that data, they are monitoring that data from the perspective of social media accounts or the loyalty programs. Every company nowadays, they run the loyalty program to check like how loyal the customers can be, in order to check that how many customers can retain their preference with a particular company XYZ. So these are simplest form of the big data application in the retail. Some of the example I put for you is, for example, if you go into the Walmart, Costco, and Tesco hotels, these are some of the biggest, retail industry names, are shopping malls, you can say. So these have a big data application. The simplest application is when you go into the counter for the payment. It's online in the top retail industries or in top branches of the shopping mall, you can say. So they scan, they will, when you give them the items, they scan, they feed in the system, like they can see what the items are on the demand, okay, or what customer has a particular preference, so they can send you a customized ad, something like that. Okay, so this is simplest application of big data into the retail industry. The second one is in healthcare. Okay, basically healthcare, I will say not all of the countries are equipped with the big data application in the healthcare, because some of the underdeveloping and even the underdeveloped countries, they are not able to indulge the big data into the healthcare. Okay, so in healthcare mean, if your all of the systems are the recorded one, the monitored one, if any patient in and out you are monitoring in the system, in some online application, then you can say that we have a 100% big data implementation into the healthcare industry. But some of the countries, they are lacking with this kind of a concept. Okay, so the simplest example is, I'm not going to touch in detail. The simplest example is, as I mentioned, for example, I would say, according to my experience, what I observed is in healthcare, big data is usually focused for those kind of a healthcare sector which are run or owned by a particular organization. Particular organization mean, like if you are running a universities, colleges, and you give them medical facility for your employees, and you want to monitor their health track, then you will be able to put the big data, some softwares to monitor the in and out, or the disease or the health monitoring of any employee. Okay, but if you just look into the government are the hospitals that are totally supervised or that are totally funded by the government, so very few of them are able to monitor the patient recovery data or patient medical record. Okay, so any online application that you put for monitoring the health record of your employees particularly, so you can say this is one of the biggest big data application in the healthcare sector. Okay, now what is the big data in education one? So in education industry, I think so, I would say I observe whenever I read this concept from the literature aspect, I feel that big data is not too much in the education until and unless we bring the concept of online education, or we bring the era of post-COVID, at the COVID time period, you can say, because this is one of the time period which hit the education sector and shake them, and they realized the need to go online. So when they went online, all of their monitoring process was through some software. So simplest example is on the Zoom. So Zoom application was one of the most used application in the world, according to the survey of during the COVID educational time period. So I think so that company produce a lot of the data about the education, and this one of the biggest company who can analyze the data on the if they want to analyze something from the educational perspective. So the Zoom company, I think so, the owner of the Zoom have a lot of information about that thing. But if we implement it to the university level or into the personal level, so every university, they develop their own softwares as well. Like in Malala University, we have a e-learning system. Okay, this is one of the application of the big data. We directed every staff, teaching staff, particularly our professors and lecturers, to use that one to keep a record of the data and to keep a record of the students, what students are doing. Okay, so basically big data, any online application in education, similarly the concept is to monitor or to keep track of their students in order to give them a real-time assessment or in order to give them real benefit or real feedback. Okay, but the era, I will say, it will be more often when the university realized the need for the online education. Before, it is very reluctant or hesitant to go online to use any certain application. So I think so the COVID time period was the best one when we can evidence we have a lot of big data application or the real application of big data in the education sector. And big data in the e-commerce industry. So for the e-commerce, I will say, in my opinion, I think so e-commerce is the first sector that give boom or that give the evolution concept to the big data. Because if we don't have the e-commerce concept, we cannot realize what is big data. Even we cannot produce that amount of a data. So e-commerce mean when you are doing, when all of the trades are doing online. And I think so it's from 1990, post 1990 era is, I think so, the boom of the e-commerce. And that era realized the educationalist, the company owner, or I think so the business industry to start work on something about managing the big volume of information, and which they concluded as a concept of big data. Okay, and then the fifth one is the big data in media and entertainment. Media and entertainment, in my opinion, is the second biggest industry after e-commerce that give boost to the big data. How it is interesting to give example here is, so I will touch that topic in more detail. For example, the viewers these days need content according to their choices only. Very common example is the Netflix. They have a very personal account. Okay, YouTube channel, they have a very personal account. So even when you create a personalized account on YouTube, Netflix, they will only show you the programs according to your interest. If you watch more often the horror movies, they will recommend you the horror movies. Okay, if you are more interested into the politics, they will suggest you some politics. Okay, politics channel, something like that. So this is the another application of the big data in the media industry or in the advertisement industry. Similarly, from the advertisement point of view, you can say, if you're running a marketing company from media perspective, like if you are advertising about the ads from telecommunication sector, so definitely you can you need like how kind of a personalization advertisement about marketing you have to show, and what will be our targeted segment. Okay, so for even from the company perspective, you need to create a link with your audience or targeted segment. So how you will link that? Definitely you want to assess with the people who are more who have more online viewership. Okay, so how you will approach them? You will approach third parties through cookies access or something like that. Okay, so you can connect with the third parties and they can give you information about the people who watch more media and entertainment industry. So you can collect their data and you will observe their interest, and then you will advertise according to the need and demand of that targeted segment. So this is one of the application in the media and telecommunication industry. Big data in finance, I think so I already covered this part. A majority of example I give from the finance perspective, because some of the people, they don't realize that even some of the companies, they don't realize big data can be very big data can be a very sensitive topic to some of the audience. If I talk to you about my research, so as I mentioned for you, during my PhD, I work on some of the software that can identify like people consciousness about information security threats, which can be created as a part of the big data. Okay, so when you are in the finance industry and you want to observe the data, definitely you are receiving information. So whether you will tell the audience, your user, you are monitoring the information or not, it's upon the privacy perspective of the company, what have their policy. So the people will impact somehow. Okay, so big data in finance is something a sensitive issue, and for those people who are in underdeveloping country, but for those countries who know the importance of the big data and who know the company they are using, it's the reliable, they know how to respect the privacy of their users or consumer, then I think so big data can be go smoothly with the finance. But most of the underdeveloping country research, they indicate that big data is a quite sensitive topic even nowadays. So we need more knowledge to the people, to the audience, how we bring to the knowledge to equip our youth about big data concept, so they can build a better future and we can be more, we feel more easy with the application of big data in the finance industry. And big data in travel industry, again, nowadays, all the ticket purchasing, all the hotel booking, it's all online, TripAdvisor, cheaptickets.com, and all of these websites, even the aviation industry is totally rely on the online softwares. These online softwares source of big data. Okay, so this is another application. So actually the main application of big data in every discipline is, you can see from the personalization factor. The more information you will observe, the more you will be able to cater the the more you will be able to cater the personalization need of your audience or consumers. This is the concept. If you keep this concept in your mind, you can implement big data in any industry. Okay, big data in telecommunications, similar thing. Telecommunication thing, every digital revolution, okay, in the form of online media or in the form of via web, you are creating a flood of information. Okay, so the telecommunication is basically the massive amount of producing telecommunication data. Okay, so in telecommunication data, even if you are see on the cellular companies, the network companies, they are connecting you, but they are monitoring you. How they are monitoring you? Sometimes the words you communicate over a call has been decoded or encrypted by the companies. Okay, so they use that information to target you for the personalization matter. But don't be afraid from the big data applications into different discipline. It's depend, because every company have their own privacy, as I mentioned, privacy policy. And nowadays, I think so, we have proper rules and regulation from every country. You can say every country government aspect, they interfere into the matter to make sure like we use the big data properly. Our people or our users will aware like how positive this thing is. So for to spread the positiveness, the government of every country, I think so, they introduce some laws to protect the consumers, so both parties can enjoy this technology. Because I think so, information is flooded, and with time it will be more and more, the volume will be increased, the velocity will be increased. So you need to make a proper interruption, and the government, I think so, for those countries who are making a ready interruption is the good one. But for those who are not making an interruption, it's a time to think. Okay, maybe this is another research interest for someone, like how a government can interact between big data users, I mean the companies, the producers and users, to make a smooth interaction between producers and users, so the consumers will not feel like or the producers will not feel like they are facing the violation of their privacy aspect. Similarly, big data in automobile, a business like automobile has driven in get results. Basically, automobile is not much into the big data. It's, you can say, with the ratio of 50% in my observation, because automobile is something that a very, maybe if you talk about the European countries, then they are rely, they have a application of big data, but mostly in the Asian domain, we cannot see a good a vibe or good evidence of big data in the automobile. We mostly rely on the physical presence. Okay, the automobile industry is on a roll, as I mentioned, and big data is its field. I must say, big data has given wings to it. It's not yet, in the flying mode, as I mentioned, still in the under consideration mode. Big data has helped the automobile industry achieve things that were beyond our imagination. But it's depend like which country you're talking about. In European one, everything is, I think so, for automobile, for buying, selling, for everything, it's online. But for the Asian domain, I think so, we have to fly. We have not fly yet completely. So from analyzing the trends to understanding the supply chain management, from taking care of its customer to turning our wildest stream of connecting cars, relative big data is a well and truly driving the automobile industry crazy. So basically, the conclusion is, as I mentioned for you, is for big data concept, you have to think about whether you want that scale or not. Because if I only say like big data is trending, information is producing, for your career perspective, you should be into it. I mean, you should have an interest. Either you build that interest and you have that interest. If you don't have a build trust, but you want to build interest, so you should more focus toward big data analytics of application from the programming perspective, or from something from research perspective, because these two areas for the students are very essential. If you just focus on like from learning perspective, like you have a lot of information on the web, gathering information, assembling information, and main target is basically personalization design. But how to achieve that personalization is through the big data analytics or to programming aspects. So these two are main domains that you should focus on. These are going to be the main trending are the employment need, or you can say the connecting point between industry and the university to collaborate on these things. So that was my topic about big data. Hope I gave you some new information about this subject matter, and I would like to hear the feedback from you. If you have any question, or you want to share any information, even because I'm not a perfect one, I'm still on the learning phase. I'm very new to this subject matter as well. If you have some information, maybe some of my seniors are listening, so I would be more happy you share your information. Thank you very much. And now I am open to your feedback, questions, or just discussion. Yes, over to you, Ms. Nanithivan.
Sir, thank you for the presentations. And we have Dr. Siddipinyor here with us as well. And if she have any questions for our presentations.
All right, thank you for asking question. Right, so thank you for the presentation. Could you, in your opinion, what is the big challenges that you found when analyzing some big data?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Siddipinyor, if I pronounce your name exactly. So according to me, as I mentioned during my PhD, I connect management sciences domain with the big data industry. So for me, the main challenges, as I mentioned, is from research perspective, one of the biggest gap is we are lacking with the theory that can connect big data with the IT industry or with the information security or big data with the management disciplines or social sciences discipline. This is one of the biggest, distraction that cannot connect people who want to work inside the interdisciplinary research. This is one of the main distraction point. The second thing is we don't have a good programming software that facilitate the companies to analyze all kind of a structure, all kind of digital data in one go. It's they have to face a lot of difficulties actually. And third thing is the industry and the university collaboration from the major of management engineering. I think so. Being an educationist and being a research person, I say that if university target this gap, because I usually observe that in management engineering degree, we give more focus to disseminating information about the theories, but we are lacking from the practical concept. If we produce a graduate who are more technology oriented, who know the concept of dual mode IT, I mean, how to actually connect the industry with the academia through producing the graduates, which is the need, which is the current need of the big data industry. So these are three main things I think so. In my opinion, we should work on. Even being an academia person or being a researcher, these are the area which are still lacking. Thank you very much, and I would also like to hear your opinion as well.
Right. Thank you for your answer. Thank you so much.
Okay. And Dr. Sherawat, do you have any questions?
I think your presentation is really good presentation because you give us more. I think I have some more idea about the other field. Normally, I just look only on the computer engineering or something like that. And however, I think this one it look like an introduction. So, do you have any idea about the software or tool for the big data that are suitable for our university?
Ka, actually, thank you for your feedback, for your appreciation word. Ka, we have a lot of actually softwares, but it's again, I would not openly say that these are the softwares in our university needed, because we are the university which is research oriented one. And from the research oriented, we should focus on some of the softwares that I think so store all of the research databases like a form of Google Scholar. Some of the software we should develop, we should request our programmers to develop for the industry to create a mini, I think so, Google Scholar for our university researchers as well. This is just, I think so, my smart answer for your question. Otherwise, we have a lot of options, but it's depend what kind of a needs we have. If we have that need, I will definitely suggest, but at this point we are research oriented. So I think so we need some programmers to develop a mini Google Scholar kind of a software for our university. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your answer. I think if I have more question on the detail of big data, I maybe ask you later.
Thank you so much, Carl. It's always pleasure.
Okay, so I think this come to the end of the webinar for today. And after this, I will upload the video to CIA YouTube channel so everyone can rewatch it again. And thank you very much for Dr. Hira for your presentation and information about the big data. Okay.
Thank you very much, the representative of CIA. It
Thank
was
you.
a great pleasure and honor. You guys invited me. Thank you very much. Swadika.
Thank you. Swadika.
Thank you. Bye bye.